Hello, hello,
Hey, good.
everybody. We are here. We are live. I've got Scott Myers on the line. Scott, I'm going to go ahead and give you some time to kind of get us kicked off here while we get everybody on board. I see there's a ton of people still logging in, but why don't you go ahead and take over from here?
Hey, fantastic. I appreciate it, Michael. I was just checking. I was waiting for screens to switch over, so thanks for keeping me honest there. And good evening, everyone, and welcome to our call. As usual, excited because the folks that we bring on to this call are folks that I work with on a regular basis and that we have conversations with on a regular basis. But then when it gets to comes down to the place where we're learning about something really cool that my vendors and my associates and my fellow investors are doing out there, then I get excited about sharing this with you. And so we indeed have Michael Hellickson with Virtual Assistant Staffing on tonight, and he's going to be talking about how he and I work together. I'm going to share with you some of the things that they're doing to help me and my organization to get the things done that I don't have time to do, and quite honestly that I shouldn't be doing. And then also Michael's going to be sharing a couple of the other, more than a couple. He's got a handful of other strategies that other investors are using in other asset classes as well as in self-storage, commercial, and quite honestly, just any ways that you can reduce the amount of time that you're spending on tasks that you don't need to be focusing on, so that you can focus on the things that are growing your business. You've heard me talk many times about Michael Gerber and the E-Myth and how systems run the business and you manage and tweak the system. Well, this is just another extension of that. And I was introduced to the concept, like so many people, of using virtual assistants by reading Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek, back in, oh gosh, when did that come out, Michael? Was that like 2006 or something like that?
It's been a
Right?
while.
Yeah, and I like to say early adopter of the idea, late adopter of actually executing it and getting it into my business. But once we did, we found that is very worthwhile, as you're going to find out tonight. And so if you're not already using virtual assistants, then we're going to spoon feed you and show you just exactly how I use it in my investing business and other ways that you can use it in your everyday business, no matter what that is. And then also, we're going to have some time to share just exactly, some of the strategies that we've been using and some other ways that you can implement that as well. So with that, we're approaching 5 minutes after now, and we've got a lot of information to share. And so what I'd like to do is this is our show. However, it is mostly Michael's, because he's got a lot of cool stuff that he's going to share with you, and we're going to talk a little bit about again, how we work together and how he's working with other people as well, because he is the master. So when it comes to virtual assistants and really getting this, dialing this in. And the reason why, well, let me tell you how I met Michael, first of all, and that's because his name came up several times in the information and education business, if you will, as well as in the investing business. And I'll give you Michael's formal biography, and then as always, I'll give you the informal. How's that? So Michael, he began his career as a real estate agent. So he's been in the business since 1991, and got in that's right about the same time as we talked about before, Michael, that I did as well. And he became the nation's #1 real estate, and he puts literally on there because he was. And during his career, Michael's spoken and coached thousands of students and organizations nationwide, and has also been featured on several national television and radio programs, including Glenn Beck. That had to have been fun. CNBC, and a huge favorite of the Self-Storage Profits show, as well as site and overall what we do. Dave Ramsey is a big part of what we do, so we do share that in common as well. And been on Fox, my favorite network, among many other local and regional programs, and has also become the founder and president of Virtual Assistant Staffing, the world's leading headhunting agency, specializing in helping businesses find, hire, and train top talent from around the globe, and savings of up to 67% over local employees. And so that is how I came to know Michael. His name had come up over and over again. We share pretty much the same values, as you can tell, for those of you that have been listening in and tuning into my webinars for a number of, well, for any amount of time. But where Michael differs in what he has done differently in some of the other companies, and I fumbled around for a long time before I found an actual company. I mean, I went out and hired virtual assistants in all the arenas that Tim Ferriss talks about, and the other means to go find those folks. And it's kind of I came to the same conclusion as many people do when they struggle to hire good people, and that is that, you know what, I'm not very good at it. I don't have the time to do it, so I'd rather go out and find somebody who actually does it. And that's so that is the niche that Michael has created within the virtual assistant community, is that he doesn't just go find you somebody. he vets these folks out. In other words, he finds out exactly what you're looking for, and they go through an extremely rigorous process and testing process to find the exact person and the exact match for you. And get this, if it is not a fit, which happened, I think, one time, Michael, we just had somebody that just didn't quite work for us, and we made Michael aware of that, and he replaced them right away. So that is where, and that is why he has grown his business exponentially, and that is why he is the actual, his company is the go-to place for finding virtual assistants, because, again, they're the ones who are actually interviewing and testing these folks out before they even get to us. So is that pretty fair assessment, Michael? Is that am I on target here?
Oh, that's phenomenal. That's a great introduction. I really appreciate that. And you're so right. I mean, that's really the niche that we hope to fill and that we strive to be the leader in is really just providing those higher level folks that you're going to want to have on your team for a long period of time, that really become a true and complete part of your business. So I'm very excited about tonight. And with that, would you like me to get rolling on content?
I would. I think what I'm going to do here is, as usual, is I'm going to hang out here in the background, and then I've got some things that I'd like to kind of share, but I think I'll wait till the appropriate places as to kind of how we're implementing the VAs that we're working with you, and how we implement in the business. And then I know you've got an awful lot of other avenues, and which is the reason why I had you on here to share. So with that, we'll be mindful of the time integrity. So I'll let you go ahead and begin.
I appreciate that. And as far as time integrity goes, we've got a 60 minutes planned for the call. Is that correct?
Perfect. Yep.
Just want to make sure we're on track. Good. Very cool. And I appreciate that. And you're absolutely right. I really am going to be looking to you throughout the call today to really provide your insights, because everybody on the call knows you very, very well. And the fact that you have used virtual assistants, that you have used our company for virtual assistants, and that you've used many different virtual assistants in many different ways is going to be, I think, very helpful to everybody on the call. So let's move on and just talk real quick about what is a virtual assistant.
All righty.
For those of you that aren't completely familiar with this, really a virtual assistant is anyone who performs work for you from a location other than your own. I mean, this could be somebody across the street from you. It could be somebody across the world from you. It doesn't matter. As long as they're providing that service from a location that's not your office, they're technically a virtual assistant. So there's lots of different kinds of virtual assistants that are out there, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why top businesses hire VAs, and more importantly, why you should too. We're going to hopefully change your perception of VAs forever. Some of you have probably used a virtual assistant in the past, and maybe you had a great experience, maybe you had a not so great experience. But we're going to talk about, how do we determine, what is a VA capable of doing? I want to kind of blow your mind a little bit on what they're actually capable of doing, and help you know that it's not just the low-level data entry and blogging and social media kind of tasks. There's actually very, very highly qualified virtual assistants out there that speak perfect English, that actually are tremendous assets to your business and bring more value than you probably ever realized a virtual assistant can bring to your business. So we're hopefully going to change that perception a little bit today. We're also going to talk about how to find the right VA. Now, obviously, I would love for you to jump on that website you see in the upper left-hand corner, that's scottmyers.com/VA. I think it'd be fantastic if you jumped on there and contacted us and took advantage of that offer of the first week to test drive a VA absolutely free with us. I would love that. But even if you choose not to do that, whether you choose to do that or not, I'm going to show you all the different ways you can go out and find virtual assistants through us, through other means. But I really want to educate you today on how to find the right one. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And also how to know if you're even ready for a virtual assistant. And by the way, if you could do me a favor, I see we've got somebody thinking we're breaking up a little bit. How's our audio now? Raise your hand if you can hear me well now, just so I can see some raised hands on there. Okay, I've got some hands going up. All right, very cool. Sounds like everybody
cut out for just a second there, Michael, but I think we're okay now.
Are we okay now?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Well, I appreciate everybody doing that. I'm going to go ahead and lower those hands for everybody and check out that question box. And yep, it looks like it's okay. Thank you. All right, good. Well, let's keep moving on then. So we're going to check how to know if you're ready for a VA. And by the way, part of the problem with the audio may just be that I'm recovering from a cold, so I apologize if I'm a little difficult to understand. I'll try and keep the water close by as we go through here. All right. We're also going to talk about how you can go from being the Lone Ranger to being a world-class team builder, and that's kind of the process I went through, and I think, Scott, we all go through this process at some point. We kind of all start off. It's just us. It's the Lone Ranger versus the world, and as we start to build and grow that team, we realize that through delegation and through leveraging other people's time, all of a sudden we can accomplish the goals that we want to accomplish in our business, and before long you become a world-class team builder. So just to share really quick my backstory, I tell people I'm a recovering real estate agent. I started, Scott, are we having trouble with audio again? Scott, can you hear me? Are we okay on audio?
No, we're not. We got a lot of static, and I lost you there. I think we may have to dial back in again.
I think you may be right. I'm not sure if that's on my end or if that's on your end. It says I've got audio back. What do we see here?
It's just it's really, I got a hum in the background, and you were cutting out right before that.
That's interesting. I'm not sure if that's on your side or on my side. Looks like I've got good bars on my internet connection. Let's see if I can log in with my telephone for audio. I'm not sure. You actually hit mute on your microphone. Let me just mute you out real quick and see if that static's coming possibly from your line. Hold on, everybody. I apologize for the static. We'll get this solved really quick here, hopefully. Okay, it sounds like that took it away. Scott, can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you now. It sounded like you muted me and then you unmuted me, but that seemed to do the trick.
I did. All right, perfect. All right, well, good. We're good to go. We're back on track, and we'll do that again if necessary to make sure we got good audio. Sorry about that, everybody. All right, well, anyway, so I tell everybody I'm a recovering real estate agent, because I loved my career as a real estate agent for 20 years, but now that I'm no longer selling real estate, it's kind of like anything else. There's a 12-step program for it, but those first 2 years of real estate sales for me were brutal, and it was, I was working 100 hours a week, and I was trying to make things work, and my parents told me, hey, Michael, you need to go get a job at McDonald's, because guess what? You'd make more money working there than you are selling real estate. And the hard fact was they were right, and I didn't want to give in, and so I did what you guys did. I went and found the guru in the industry that I wanted to be in. For you guys, it's Scott Myers. You said, hey, I want to invest in self-storage. You found the world's leader investor in self-storage, which is Scott Myers, and you got educated by him. Well, back in the day, I went and I found the #1 real estate agent trainer, and I got educated by him, and he said something that blew me away in this seminar. He said, if you don't have an assistant, you are one. And I got to tell you, that hit me like a ton of bricks. Have you ever heard that before, Scott?
I have, as a matter of fact, and that is the truth, because I spent a little bit of time in the real estate business as well, and realized that you know what, it's okay to in the investing business. A wise old man once told me, he said, you know what, being a painter is a great job, or being a carpenter, and that's a very noble profession. But if you want to make $10 the rest of your life, then don't spend another minute doing that. Hire somebody to do it for you, and that goes for every other facet of your business. And I realized that on the painting side, and then on the administrative side. So absolutely.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, you can be the $10 an hour guy, or you can have the $10 an hour guys working for you. And that's not to say that it's not okay to be the $10 an hour guy. It's just you got to choose where you want to be and what you want to do with your life. My assumption is that most of the people on the call today would like to leverage that time a little better so they can have a little bit more balance in their life and spend a little more time with their family and maybe doing some other things that they enjoy besides work. So anyway, this hit me like a ton of bricks, and I immediately went out and I said, you know what, I'm not going to give in. I'm not going to let my parents be right about my failure in the real estate world, and so I'm going to go hire an assistant. And I did. And I got to tell you, it was the best thing I ever did. And in fact, she later became my wife. 4 years later, she became my wife, and I always tell people that's the day I went to work for her, which if you're married, you know exactly what I mean. She is an absolute princess. I love my wife. Best thing that ever happened to me was marrying her. And when I brought her into the business, I was struggling because I couldn't get out of my own way. I was doing all this administrative work, all this paperwork, and all of a sudden when I brought her on, she was doing all the administrative work, and I could focus on selling, which is where I really needed to spend my time. Well, long story short, we grew that company to 44 employees over the next 20 years. we were crushing it. And, it was great. We were doing about $450,000 a month in commission dollars. But the thing that was scaring me was I had about $125,000 a month in payroll. Now, when you wake up every day and you got to cut a check for $125,000 each month for payroll, that's a lot of pressure. And so I was looking for ways to cut costs and to save money. And I started talking to my friends that had big practices around the country. And they said, Michael, you got to look at virtual assistants. And I was reluctant. I wasn't sure I wanted to do it. I didn't know how I was going to find them, how was I going to train them, how was I going to keep track of them. I had more questions than answers, but I reluctantly tried it out, and I hired my first VA. And what I did was I hired them to work for one of my other assistants. And they went in, and within 2 weeks, literally, I got feedback from that assistant that it was the best thing that ever happened to him. And all of a sudden, my wife and my office manager each came to me, and they said, Michael, we want a virtual assistant too. So I said, all right. So I went out and I hired 2 more. And before long, I start looking around the office and I start thinking, hey, wait a minute, this is working out really well. So all of a sudden I start looking around thinking, hey, who else can what other positions can I move virtual? And we immediately ceased hiring locally and immediately began only hiring virtual assistants. And anywhere we had trouble with an employee or attrition, we immediately made the change to a virtual assistant for that position as well. And before long, I literally took my entire office virtual. And I'll tell you, that was huge for us. And it created all kinds of efficiencies, both in the employee realm as well as in the office space realm. And we'll talk about first the employee realm. We went from spending $125,000 a month to just over $40,000 a month using virtual assistants. That's a savings of 68% on our payroll alone, or $85,000 a month, without having to do another transaction that was immediately going into my bottom line. That's huge. And that's just where the savings began. We had wages and salary savings we just talked about, but we also got rid of employment taxes because we were hiring these folks from overseas. Now, a virtual assistant doesn't have to be overseas. They could be in the U.S., they could be in Canada, they could be all over the world. We just happened to choose to hire folks from overseas, and then we were able to avoid the employment taxes, the Social Security, the Medicare, the labor and industries, the workers' comp. We got rid of all the office chit-chat because now these people weren't sitting next to each other all day long chit-chatting. We even got rid of the office drama. And let me tell you, if nothing else, if all I did was save on the office drama and the office chit-chat, it was worth going to VAs. But we saved all that money to boot. Then, when you think about it, we got rid of the office because now we were entirely virtual. I didn't even have to have a physical office building, so I had no more long-term leases, no more triple nets, no more insurance, no more telephone, internet, no more office equipment, no more computers, copiers, desks, chairs, cubicles, plants, lights, toilet paper. I didn't have any of those expenses anymore. You start thinking about how all of that stuff adds up as you're building a company, it really does translate to your bottom line. So from a financial standpoint, hiring these virtual assistants was a gigantic boon to our business and did wonders for our bottom line. But that's not even the biggest reason why I think everybody should have a virtual assistant. Now, Scott, I got to ask you, have you ever been on a vacation and felt like you were married to your phone or your email? I think we lost Scott.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Nope. I'm here. Yes, I had been as well, and especially early on, several years ago, I remember where I felt like we couldn't go on a cruise because, if we didn't have signal, everything would fall apart. That was not a good place to be.
You ever have your wife say, hey, honey, can we perform a cell phone ectomy and actually have you spend time with me?
Yes, I've had those threats several times. As a matter of fact, not much anymore, though. You've helped with that, but yeah, I remember those days.
I love it. We've all been there, and every small business owner goes through this. I mean, it's a grind. Getting your business off the ground really is a lot of work, and there really are no shortcuts to it. But that being said, what I've always believed is the number one reason to have virtual assistants is that no success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. Now think about this for a moment. No success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. How do I get rid of that cell phone when I'm on vacation? Well, when I took my office 100% virtual, I literally took 6 weeks off. I didn't take a phone call. I didn't check email. I didn't check in with the office. I posted a few things on Facebook once in a while, pictures of where we'd been, and I took my family on vacation for 6 weeks, and that's a picture. And if you know where that's at, I'd be really interested to see if you can guess where that's at. Just type it into your questions box if you think you know where that's at. But that picture in the background there, I see some answers coming through here. No, that is not Disneyland, but you're close. That's a good choice there. That is actually the Matterhorn in Zermatt, Switzerland. And I got to tell you, best 6 weeks of my life. And the reason I didn't have to check in with the office and I didn't have to be checking on every little detail is because I had my virtual assistants handling everything. And if I wanted to, it would have been very easy to check in with them from any part of the world, just as easy as if I was at home. But I chose not to on that 6-week period. Nowadays, every time we travel, anytime we go anywhere, my office is wherever my laptop is. And that's really, really nice to have. So, all right. And by the way, Scott, how's our audio right now? Are we still doing okay on audio?
It's still cutting in and out just a little bit, so I'm not sure if you want to just totally cut me out, or maybe if I switch over to microphone instead of a telephone, that might do the trick.
I'm going to pause my screen, make sure that we've got everything possible to shut down. So I don't know, that could be. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully, it will continue to be all right. All right. So let's get back to it. Let me get back to people can see my screen. Let's get back so everybody can see it well. Okay, good. So can you see my screen one more time? Okay, so long story short, you definitely want to embrace the idea of getting a virtual assistant on your team. Now, there's lots and lots of different VAs out there, and they come in all shapes and sizes. Their backgrounds vary, their skill sets vary, their pay ranges vary. It depends on whether they come from the U.S. or all over the world. In fact, that has a big impact on pay range. Generally speaking, you're going to pay about twice as much in the U.S., sometimes as much as 3 times as much as in the U.S. as you will if you hire abroad. That's not to say that there aren't times you may want to hire somebody from the U.S. It's just something that you want to think about as you go into this and make the decision early on. Am I open to people from abroad, or am I going to restrict myself to only hiring in the U.S.? Also, another thing that has a big impact on price is whether you're hiring someone long-term or for a project. Generally speaking, your pricing is better if they feel like they have a long-term job with you. That doesn't mean it has to be full-time. It might only be 5 hours a week or 2.5 hours a week or 10 hours a week or whatever. But if someone knows that they have a long-term ongoing relationship with you, they're more likely to give you better pricing on their time. So that's one of the things you want to consider as you look at hiring virtual assistants. Quality versus price is also very important. Now that you're looking at a global marketplace, and the world is literally your oyster, you can choose from a worldwide talent pool, and you truly do get what you pay for. And so it's very, very important to be very conscious of what is most important to you. For example, if all you need is data entry done, well, you might be more price conscious than anything. Now, if you want someone who's going to speak with your clients, or you need high-level web development done, you may be more quality conscious. Both are fine. You just need to decide going into it which is most important to you. And it may be different based on different positions you're hiring for. All right, so let's get right into what can a VA do. And I'm just going to throw out some things, Scott, and then I'll have you jump in a minute here and talk about some of the things that you've used VAs for. But let's start with anything that doesn't require physical presence in your office can be done by a virtual assistant. That could be a listing or transaction coordinator, marketing coordinator, bookkeepers, receptionists, telemarketing and appointment setters, SEO or search engine optimization, blogging, social media, website design and development. I'll tell you, some of the most talented website designers and developers live outside the U.S. I have seen, in fact, probably most of the websites that you are familiar with that are huge websites that you use on a daily basis had lots and lots of development experience from outside the U.S. helping them with those web development projects. Some amazing and talented people out in the world. Client care coordinators. People to make sure that your clients are taken care of and questions answered and happy on a regular basis. Research, data entry, managing your client relationship management software, checking and handling your emails and voicemails. I want to touch on this one really quick. Scott, roughly how many hours a day do you think the average person spends checking their emails and voicemails?
Oh my gosh, I'd say it's probably whatever their workday is. I'd say it's 50% of that, so maybe 4 hours or so.
I think you are absolutely right about that. And the statistic that I heard 2 years ago, and I think it's gone way up since then, the statistic I heard 2 years ago was 3 hours a day is the average time people spend checking emails and voicemails. Now, if you think about this, if all a VA could do for you is check and handle your emails and voicemails and eliminate all of the junk email that needs to be deleted, handle the ones that, there's about a third of your emails and voicemails are solicitors and junk emails and stuff like that just need to go away. Another third, if you had a well-trained VA that you taught your systems and that sort of thing, they could handle all those themselves. And there's maybe only a third left that really you truly need to be the one to handle. So if you think about it, if all they could do is get rid of 2/3 of your emails and voicemails each day, that would save you 2 hours a day. Now, Scott, I don't know about you, but I can think of a lot of things I'd rather do with 2 hours a day than sit in the office checking emails and voicemails.
Yeah, well, like focusing on the things that we need to do to grow our business, and that's, I'll go ahead and jump in and say that this was I didn't think I could do this, but 2 years ago, I realized that, okay, I need to do this because I did a time audit as to where I spent my time and realized, I was spending way too much time doing these types of things, voicemails and all this other stuff I shouldn't be doing. And then, I finally made the plunge and I changed my emails and only give out my new email address to the people that needed to get in touch with me. And then I didn't even monitor the old email address. I gave it to my virtual assistant, and then she would go through, get rid of the junk, unsubscribe to stuff, and she spent all that time only forwarding the things over to me that were pertinent. And you know what? I was scared as all get out, as I imagine many people are at the thought of me even saying that. But you know what? Nothing happened except for more productivity on my part. No emergencies, no tragedies, nothing.
Well, isn't it interesting that, in the beginning, when you first hand that process over, what happens is your virtual assistant's going to come to you with lots of questions. How do you want me to handle this one? How do you want me to handle that one? And over time, they start to get to know your preferences, and they start to be able to handle those on their own. And all of a sudden, it goes from it's a little bit of a burden because you've got to spend some time teaching them to all of a sudden they're helpful to all of a sudden you can't live without them. And
I went from 200 a day. Michael, sorry to interrupt. I went from 200 emails a day down to 30.
Oh, my gosh. That's amazing. And you know what? I bet that's pretty common results. I would say that that's probably not out of the ordinary.
Yep.
So that's awesome. Good stuff. And managing your calendar. Here's another important one. If somebody wants to speak with me, they've got to speak with one of my VAs first because I work on a very tight schedule. I'm sure, Scott, that you do as well. And I want to talk to my clients. I really do. And that's why I don't handle incoming phone calls, because I need to make sure that when my clients want to talk to me, we set a time and a day and we talk. And I'm available for them at that time and day, and they're ready for my call at that time and day. And it always happens, and it's very efficient. And it allows me to literally, if I want to work, I work a 3.5-day week now. And so my Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I will literally talk to 22 people Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, each of those 3 days. So I get to talk to 66 people over 3 days that are all scheduled appointments, all ready and willing and able and interested in talking with me at that time. Very, very efficient. Booking your flights, hotel, all that kind of stuff. I know I don't enjoy that. My VAs do that for me. Building mobile apps, chief financial officer, project director, transcriptionist, graphics designers, teaching your kids to play an instrument, creating full motion animated videos, teaching you a language. There's just so many things virtual assistants can do. Well, let's talk now specifically about what they can do for real estate investors. Scott, why don't you jump in here and talk about some of the things that you think that the people on the call would love to use a virtual assistant for?
Yeah, well, just kind of hot off the heels of retooling our credibility website. When folks are starting out and they're talking, especially with private lenders and or even just bankers and potential partners in their organization, the days of having a handwritten credibility kit that you carry around in your briefcase and give to somebody, those days are gone. Now it's a site, and it's a site that's either on an About Me page or it could be your own domain, whatever that is. But it's your resume online, essentially. It tells them why they should be investing with you or loaning money to you. It gives your profile, your background, your hero file, and why they should be working with you, projects should be worked on. And basically, they can just look into and find out about you. So that's one of them. Another is on the marketing end. doing market research itself. If we're looking to develop and or move into a market, we want them to do research, and we show them all the places to go to gather that information. And we train them. Now may be a good time, Michael, to kind of just jump in and tell them that, hey, the way that we train our VAs, by the way, is very specific written instructions, but also with a video. We do screenshot videos, and we send them across, as you know, Michael, to your folks, and that way they can always go back and refer and say, hey, this is what Scott wants done on this project. Or if they bring in other people, they can do that again, and I don't have to continue to train somebody. We do it via video. The marketing piece as well. If we're also going into a market, then we have them scour all the on-market deals that are out there. And then, yeah, they can fill out those lead sheets and send them to us however detailed we want, and pre-screen some of those so that I get the pre-screen leads that come into us. That then the time that I spend is only calling folks that are already interested in selling their properties and or at least talking to me about those. So those are some of the main ones. I could go on and on, but just on day-to-day stuff is yeah, flights and hotel. You're right. My gosh, it takes me an hour to pick out a candy bar in a store. Can you imagine? I mean, I do the same thing with flights and just in hotels and all that stuff. I just fret and fret and fret, and so now I just I've given those VAs my guidelines. They know my travel habits now, so they just book it and give the information to me, and that literally saves me an hour every time I travel somewhere, if not more.
It makes such a big difference. And not only that, it's not hard for them to figure out your preferences. But, it takes so much time out of your day if you're going to go in and you're going to figure out, okay, I like to be on the window, I like to be in the first 6 rows, or I like to be in first class, or whatever it is. You don't need to waste your time with that. There's so many more important things. And Scott, let me ask you this. I've always told people, and I think you'll agree with this, tell me what you think, that there's 3 things every business owner must do to succeed. And these are the 3 most important things that you must do every single day. And that's lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion. And without those 3 things, you don't have a business. And the problem is that we use everything else in our world as an excuse not to do those 3 things.
Yep.
And that's what you want to use your VA for, is get your VA in there to get all the other stuff off your plate so that you can focus 100% on lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion. Would you agree with that, Scott? I think we lost Scott.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep, we got you now.
Okay. Yeah, that and it's real easy for at least speaking for myself, somebody who has ADD, to want to check things off the list and check a whole bunch of things off on my day and get it out of my Google Calendar, rather than focusing on those top 3 things that are going to propel my business forward. And I know there's so many other people that are that fall into that trap as well. Well, you know what? Get rid of all those things. You shouldn't be doing those things. You should only be focusing on the top priorities. It's real easy to check things off that only take 5 or 10 minutes or 15 minutes or even an hour, and avoid those other ones and make you feel like you've accomplished something by checking off things off your calendar. But at the end of the day, we all realize that, the priorities are the ones that take longer to do, and those are the ones that get carried over to the next day.
And a lot of times the priorities aren't as fun.
That you really should be paying somebody else to do and paying them a lot less.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And like I said, it's a lot of times the priorities aren't as fun. Lead generation is a perfect example, and this is probably a good time to talk about. We actually have a program that we use with a lot of single-family home investors, and I know there's probably some folks on the call that may not have completely converted yet over to being able to focus 100% on self-storage investing, which, by the way, is kind of the holy grail. So hopefully you're all working toward that goal. But for those of you that are still dabbling a little bit in single family, we actually have a program where we go out and we do the lead generation for the folks that are looking for single family properties to invest in. And we actually find all the different properties for sale in the area. We call them up. We go through a specific list of questions to ask them. Are you willing to carry a contract? Are you willing to sell on a lease option? How did you arrive at your price, and how much do you owe on it? All those kinds of things. We get all that pertinent information, and then we provide those leads to the investors, and they pay us a per lead fee. Instead of paying by the hour, they pay a per lead fee. Now, with most of these other things that you're talking about, with all the other types of VAs we're talking about, it would be like having your own staff members, so you're paying by the hour for those things. But we do have some of those done for you programs where we do charge by the on the successful fulfillment of whatever the goal is that you're trying to accomplish, primarily lead generation. So the real key here is you've got to prioritize your business, and lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion have to be the cornerstones of your business, and you have to plan those hours in your day first. And if you don't have enough hours in your day to spend adequate time on those three things, it's imperative that you get somebody else to get stuff off your plate so that you can.
Hey, can you just repeat that, Michael?
Which part?
The part is that if you don't have the time to go out and generate leads, then you need to hire somebody else to do it. My folks have heard that several times, but I know I still get the question of when I ask people, or when they're just not meeting their goals or getting into the business, that is the number one thing that gets in the way. I've got to learn the lingo. I've got to do this. They got to pick up that 800-pound phone for those folks that are a little anxious about talking to sellers on the phone. And you know what? Give them the script. Give them the script that you've developed, whatever you want. They can run right from the Valuator page and begin making those outbound calls to begin filling up your funnel so that you're generating leads without having to do it.
That's correct.
Or you're doing it yourself and offloading everything else. Either way, that's where Michael comes in, and that's why we're on this call.
And that's right. And we can do either way. You can choose to have administrative tasks offloaded so that you can focus on lead gen, or we can do lead gen for you so you can focus on lead conversion if that's what you want to do. Mm-hmm. But the real key here is lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion have to be a daily part of your business. And frankly, they should take up 90% of your day. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Only 10% of your day should be spent on anything other than those three things. And I'll tell you, the most successful people are the ones that have figured out how to do that. And I don't care if you're working a 40-hour week or a 100-hour week or a 10-hour week or a 4-hour week. Whatever time you are working, 90% of that time needs to be focused on things that generate a transaction. And that's lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion. So, all right. Good stuff. Well, let's keep moving forward. So, a lot of people think VAs don't speak English. They have that experience when they call Microsoft tech support, and they're like, I can't understand the guy. He doesn't even speak English hardly. And the fact of the matter is, the right VAs do speak perfect English. And there's lots of people all over the world that speak better English than I do. And if you've been listening to the call for a while, you'll agree that that's probably not too difficult to find. But there are great folks out there. They're not all from the Philippines or India. We actually hire a lot of people out of England, out of South Africa, Central and South America, all over Europe. We hire people from all over the world. So they're not all from the Philippines or India. Yes, a lot of great VAs come from those areas too. From an English standpoint, I have better luck in other parts of the world than I do in those, although we do find some folks in the Philippines. India's been kind of tough on the English. I will say that they also oftentimes require less management than local staff. One of the really cool tools that we have at our disposal, and Scott, I think you've been using this as well, we have a time tracking program, and it's awesome. I mean, when they log in, they have to log in every day, and if they step away from their computer for 3 minutes, it automatically times them out, and it'll take screenshots of what they're working on every 9 minutes, and you can tell whether or not they're really working on what they're supposed to be working on. It'll alert you if they've been on Facebook or YouTube or HannahMontana.com or any other waste-of-time website. I mean, it's awesome, and it really takes a lot of the headache of managing people out of having employees. What do you think about that, Scott? Yeah,
well, I don't want to drive home every point, but that is a good point. If you remember, one of the gentlemen that was working on some of our web stuff, he was going on, what was it, ESPN or NBA.com or something like that. It was a sports one. And that was, I think that's a big concern that everybody has is, well, you know what, I have a hard enough time trying to manage somebody who's in the office or the cubicle next door to me and wondering what they're doing. How could I do that halfway around the world? Well, when you implemented that program, that pretty much solved that because we knew to the minute whether our folks were working or not, and I was charged accordingly to only their productivity when the times that they were working. So it was actually better than anything that I had in the past for managing any employees.
It's actually better than, I mean, if you think about it, if that person had been in your office, you would never have known.
Nope. No, you're right.
Yeah, and because this person was virtual and we had those screenshots, literally all we had to do was go in and hit delete on the screenshot, and it automatically deducted 9 minutes from their time for that day. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was huge. And the VA got, reprimanded for it and was told not to do it again. And they realized, oh my gosh, yep, you're right. Sorry, won't ever happen again. And we were able to solve the problem.
And it didn't. And that was it. And basically, it's just like anything else. It only happened that one time, and I don't think he even knew it was on there. And that was it. And not that there was a bad person or that there was any issues there, but you know what? If they daydream a little bit, guess what? It'll only happen once.
You have to inspect what you expect. and this makes it really easy to do that. So now that's great stuff. All right, well, I want to keep moving forward so we have plenty of time for questions. I know we got a lot of questions. And by the way, just as a recap for y'all, if you want to just type in any questions you have into your questions box on your screen there, we're going to get to those questions here in just a couple of minutes. And for those of you that haven't already heard this and that want to make sure you're able to take advantage of a free 1-week trial of a virtual assistant, kind of a test drive, if you will, of a virtual assistant, just jump on scottmyers.com/VA. Again, it's scottmyers.com/VA. There's a form you'll fill out there. That will get you connected with my office, and someone from my office will give you a call, and we'll talk about what your specific needs are and how we might be able to help you with those. And by the way, there's no obligation. If you test drive that VA and you're not crazy about them, you don't have to keep them. You can cancel at any time, and you don't have to pay anything to be able to do that. So, all right. Work quality is often superior to local, and the reason for this is you're not relegated to who in your local marketplace can do whatever it is you need done at that time. You've got literally the entire world. If they have internet access, they're an option, And now what you got to do is you got to figure out who's the best option, and that's really what our job is. But before we get into that, let's talk about when to hire one. When you're ready for growth, when you experience attrition, so if you've had somebody on your team already and they leave for some reason or that you need to let them go, when you feel overwhelmed, when you need to save money, when you're ready to take your business to the next level, and most importantly, when you can afford one. And the reason I say this is what you don't want to do is you don't want to go out and hire somebody if you're broke. If you're not in a position to be able to keep them on your team long term, don't waste your time hiring them and training them, because it'd be a complete waste of your time. Now, that being said, I'm not trying to suggest that you have to have $1 million in the bank before you hire somebody. That's counterproductive as well. So you've got to find that balance between, okay, I've got some cash flow happening, I'm ready to grow my business, I need to take it to the next level, and I'm ready. I want to take that step, and I want to hire an assistant and really take this thing to the next level. And I know that I'll be able to, 3 months from now, I'm not going to have to fire them because I'm broke or because, I overestimated my ability to keep them on board. And the reality is you're going to invest time into this person as well as some money, but your time is what's most important because you're going to train this person. And the better job you do training, the better results you will get. The people that have the best businesses are the people that train their team the most often. I recommend a daily huddle. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But prior to doing that, you got to find the right one. So let's talk about how do we do that. There's lots of websites you can go on if you want to just do it yourself. You don't have to hire my company to do it. We'd love to work with you, but even if you want to do it yourself, here's some ways you can do it. You can go to Craigslist.com, Elance, Fiverr, 99 Designs, Odesk, Guru, Monster.com. There's job boards out there. There's lots of different websites and places you can go to look for virtual assistants. Now, that's the easy part. The challenging part, and the part that you really need to spend more time in, is looking through resumes, contacting people, doing voice-to-voice interviews, putting them through a testing process, doing multiple rounds of interviews following that to really make sure you're getting to the right person. And that's what we do for you, by the way. And that's the next option. You can hire a headhunter like us. And frankly, there's not really too many of them out there like us, but what we do is we give you the guaranteed results. So we go out, we search the world for the right person. So we first do is we do an interview with you to find out what your needs are. Then we go search the globe for the right person to fit those needs. Then we put them through a series of interviewing process. So after we've gone through 400 to 500 resumes, we put the best people out of that through a series of interviews. The ones that are the best out of that get tested. We do several types of tests. We do skills tests, personality profile tests. We use a DISC personality profile. We do internet connection speed tests. We do all kinds of tests to make sure that their equipment and their attitude are where they need to be, as well as their skill sets and all that. Then we put them through another round of interviews, and sometime we'll even go through a third round of interviews before we finally bring them to our client. And then we let our client test drive that virtual assistant for a full week to ensure that it's the right fit before you start paying for them. And if for some reason they're not, then guess what? Let me know. We'll get rid of them. We'll get you a different one. Another thing that we do is we offer flexible plans so that our clients don't have to hire them full-time. They can hire them for 2.5 hours a week or 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week or whatever it is. But that way you have control over how many hours a week you need, and yet you're still able to get a great person, because we'll find other people that are a good fit for them as well to keep them occupied for 20 or 40 hours a week or however long they want their work week to be, so that you don't have to worry about that. We'll also manage the payroll. So basically the way it works is our clients pay us on their credit or debit card, and then we take care of getting the money, because there's some hoops you got to jump through to get money overseas to pay these folks. Well, we take care of all that, and we take care of any payroll taxes and issues and all that, and we kind of act as our client's HR department, kind of a virtual HR department, if you will. So if you're having any kind of a challenge with your VA, we'll help you with that. If you need help understanding how to communicate with them, or how to assign tasks, or how to get more out of them, those kinds of things, we're here to help you with that. All right, so let me quickly go over that 1-week gift for you again, and then let's get in some Q&A. I know we've got a lot of people online that have some questions, and I want to get them answered. First of all, you're going to get a call when you go to that website, scottmyers.com/VA. You're going to get a call from one of my virtual assistants. They're going to set up a time for you to talk with either myself or one of my partners, and we are going to dig deep into your personal needs. We're going to do this one-on-one with each and every one of you. It's very important we do it that way, because everybody's different. Just because you're a real estate investor, just because you're buying self-storage properties, doesn't mean you have the exact same needs as everybody else. So we're going to dig deep into your personal needs. Then we're going to shoot you out a copy of our standard agreement. And what this is going to do is it's going to protect you. It's going to give you what's called a non-compete, non-disclosure agreement, so that you know that we're not going to share your information with the outside world, and your information is protected. And it's also going to ensure us that when we find you a terrific VA, that you're not going to try and hire them out from under us, that you're going to, when you work with them, you're going to work with them through our office. Then we're going to go out and we're going to search the world for that perfect VA for you. We're going to get them, and it's going to take us about 2 weeks usually, sometimes a week but never more than 2 weeks. We're going to bring that person back and let you test drive them for a full week for free. Now, if you love them, you keep them, and you begin paying us after that. If you don't love them, no problem. Give us a shout. We'll replace them for free. If you just want to cancel at that point, that's totally fine too. But chances are you're going to love the person we get, because we're going to do a great job finding out what your needs are, and we're getting pretty good at what we do. So any comments on that process, Scott?
No, other than that's where the rubber meets the road, and that is why we're working with you, is because we've gone that other route. And folks, there's a reason why Michael put up his competition, which is you going out to Odesk and Elance and all those others, and that's because it's really not competition compared to what he does. Because we fumbled around thinking we can do it on our own over and over and over again, and you know how much time we wasted doing that? Well, the reason why we're getting a VA is to save time, and so we stopped doing that to get off that hamster wheel, and hired Michael, and he went out and found he found us our perfect VAs, period. We told him what we were looking for in these different areas, and he went out and found them.
That's the goal. And I'll be honest, a big part of that is Scott did a great job articulating to us what he wanted. And because you were able to do that, Scott, because you were very clear in what you wanted and what you expected out of this person, it made my job really easy. I mean, yes, we still had to invest, in the neighborhood of 100 hours of staff time in going out and finding that right person. That being said, I would never have been able to hit the mark as closely as we were able to without you doing such a great job telling us, this is what I need this person to be able to do, and this is what I want.
It worked. We both only wanted to do it once, and so that's what you guys need to keep in mind, is to be as specific as possible and give Michael your wish list.
Yeah, you're right. That's absolutely key. All right. Well, let's do this. We've got about 10 minutes here. We want to be respectful of everybody's time. And so, Scott, why don't we jump into, I'm going to skip past this. Let's jump into some questions and answers. And are you able to see those?
I'm not. I can't. So you can read them to me.
All right. I'll jump in here. So let's see. How impeccable must your business processes be to make the best use of VAs, especially if your VA team was worldwide dispersed, including my project management team? You want to speak to this one, or do you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead and jump in, and I think I got a couple things to add to it.
Okay. Ultimately, when it comes to hiring people from all over the world, I've actually found it's easier because the communication between us ends up being more specific. Instead of just chit-chatting around an issue, when we have communication about what's going on and what needs to be done, it's very clear, it's very specific. We talk to them via Skype. We talk to them with email. We do conference calls. And we use project management software like Basecamp, particularly for our web development projects. And all of this makes it so that everybody's collaborating in the same space in a very efficient way. And so your business processes, while they may not be super perfect today, they will get there over time. They will get better and better and better over time. The key is do the best you can to create a checklist for everything that needs to be done in your office. Your VA can help you with this. But start off by just doing simple checklists, and it will get improved and better from there. Did you want to jump on that, Scott, or is that?
Yeah, Basecamp is key, and that brings up another whole point. But that is how we collaborate, and that's how we keep everything in one place, and so that itself has been helpful. But also, I used to worry about the processes. So I'm sorry, what was the name of the person who asked that question? Did it leave a name, Michael?
It was Gregory.
Okay, Gregory. What I found is that in many cases I'd like to be very, very specific, but also I found that the folks that Michael finds for us are so good at what they do that in some instances I've really kind of left it to them to say, here, I want you to develop this process. I want you to develop this sheet, this brochure, whatever that is, because these folks bring a whole new skill set that are actually, they're better than what I am. I mean, in some cases I'm very specific. In other cases I'm being a little vague intentionally because they bring so much expertise. And depending upon, Michael, we've worked with a number of different nationalities with your organization, and depending upon the nationality and the culture, sometimes they really want to follow exactly what we say, and they're not, they don't take so much of those liberties, and so we need to be mindful of the country and the culture that they come from when we do that as well. But we've been pleasantly surprised when we do give them the latitude to bring in their own ideas and thoughts and what they've done, that we end up with a better process than what we could have dreamed or just demanded that they, grind out anyways. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And here's another thing to think about. It's not going to be perfect all at once. You can't, everything about business and everything about life is a growth process, and you get there one step at a time. Don't feel like you got to know everything right now. Don't feel like you've got to have perfect systems right now. Just get started. Just get the help you need. Take it one step at a time. Create those checklists as you go along, and guess what? All of a sudden, everything kind of comes together. And 6 months from now, things are way better than they are today. And you just don't expect, never try and eat the whole elephant all at once. You want to eat it one bite at a time. And so, don't expect that. Okay, I'm going to hire a VA, and all of a sudden, my problems are going to be solved. That's not reality. Reality is, I'm going to hire a VA. I'm going to train my VA. I'm going to work hard in my business. My VA is going to work hard in my business. And over time, my business is going to grow. And eventually, I'm going to hire more VAs. And my business will grow even more. And eventually, I'll be in a point where I can have a life. I can have balance in my life. I can live the philosophy that no success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. And all of a sudden, I'm going to have a better relationship with the people I love. I'm going to have a better relationship with myself. And my business is going to thrive, and I'm going to be making more money. But it's not an immediate thing. You've got to take the time and lay the right foundation. So, all right. Now, here's another great question, actually also from Gregory, about bookkeeping. And how do I handle the internal controls of the VA bookkeeper, including the signing of checks or vendor payments? And let me just tell you this. In my business, no one besides me has the ability, not even my wife, no one has the ability to sign checks or access that money. Now, that being said, when it comes to our personal accounts, I don't even have the access to our personal accounts. Only my wife does. So we're very, very strict on our controls. Now, that being said, guess what? My bookkeeper is in the Philippines. I pay her $9 an hour. Phenomenal bookkeeper. Best one I've ever had. I've had lots of bookkeepers work for me over the years. I love her. And I'll tell you that she does everything for us. My wife simply scans in all our bank statements and pay stubs. Actually, the bank statements automatically dump in there because we use online banking. So those automatically dump in there. So the VA doesn't even have to have access to the bank accounts. which nobody ever should. And so that dumps in automatically. The VA just reconciles that. Then my wife sends her the bills, the receipts, all that kind of stuff. She does all those reconciliations. And even my accountant, my bookkeeper talks to my accountant. If my accountant wants something done or has questions, they communicate with each other. I'm not even involved. I don't need to be involved in that process. I don't want to be in that process. What I want is I want to be able to look at my profit and loss every week, which is exactly what I do. And I'll go through and I'll take a pen or a pencil and I'll write notes and stuff on my profit and loss. My wife will scan that and email it to my VA, and my VA will answer my questions. That's how I like to work. And it's great because I always know where my money is. My stuff is always up to date all the time, and I don't lose. Just a perfect example, just this week, we had about $20,000. I said, honey, I think we're missing 20 grand here somewhere. and so she checked in with the VA, and the VA went through and checked out our merchant accounts and said, nope, here it is. It's over here. The merchant accounts are hanging on to it. They said it takes like 30 days to release it or something like that. But I had my answer. Everybody knew where it was, and I had my answer within a half hour. It didn't take me 3 weeks to figure out where this 20 grand went. And so pretty cool stuff. I'll tell you, and bookkeeping is really easy to outsource. That's one position that you will love outsourcing. All right. Let's see. I'm going to get some more. For real estate investors, lots of programs for real estate investors. Excuse me. All right. And yes, by the way, the bookkeepers are trained in QuickBooks already. You do not have to train them in QuickBooks. They are already trained there. Yes, there are VAs for property managers. There are a lot of property managers using VAs. A lot of real estate agents are using VAs. A lot of real estate investors are using them. And yes, the pay is on a straight hourly basis. And so what you do is you set up, you say, okay, I want to use a minimum of this many hours per week. So you reserve a certain number of hours per week. And that VA works for you just like any other job, So if you wanted somebody 10 hours a week, then they would be on the clock for you from 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock in the morning, your time, Monday through Friday. And you would set up whatever hours you want them to work, but it would be the same hours every day, and they belong to you during those hours. And I got somebody saying they like our time tracking system. Thank you. We love it as well. It's been fantastic.
Hey, Michael, can I jump in here on the property management side?
Absolutely. Please do.
Depending upon the size of a facility, speaking about self-storage specifically, it doesn't always work to have a kiosk in place. Also, some of the websites, either to have them built or to utilize somebody else's service to rent online and do that entire process, sometimes is too costly as well. But if you can do a reservation system, and or if you want to hire somebody to handle it the way that you would like it to be handled on your end for somebody to move into your facility, then yeah, they can schedule that time. They can click on live chat, schedule an appointment, get a call back from your virtual assistant, and they walk through the process, fill out all their information and their lease, and then no matter where they are in the world, an eye on your site, whether that's you or if somebody else goes out there every once in a while, they can put those little tabs on your unit. They break that tab when they go out there. They fill out the lease if they have to, or just sign it and then put it into an envelope that sometimes is left at the facility and send that back into you to complete the process. So everything is done. 95% of the work is done by your virtual assistant online, but when that client goes out there to move in to their actual unit, then they just sign a card and send that back in that unit. The virtual assistant tells them what unit to go to once they've rented it. They go into the facility, the gate code that the virtual assistant has given them, go to their unit, sign a piece of paper, they move in, put the lock on, and complete the transaction.
That's huge.
It is huge.
And if you didn't hear all of that completely, Scott, are you going to have a replay? Are you going to be able to replay this for folks?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Fantastic, folks. You need to re-listen to what Scott just said. It is so easy when you start really thinking about this and you really get your head around how can I use VAs for different things. You're going to realize that, man, I can do just about every process in my business with a virtual assistant, and that is huge. And when you take your business to that level, you become free of all the things that tie you down when you hire locally. And you don't have to, justify to somebody, hey, I got to let this person go. You don't have to convince the government that it was justified. You don't have to fight with anybody about, oh, this person said they worked this many hours, but they really only worked this many hours. I can see it on their time tracking software. I mean, it's just, your life, you relieve yourself of all these burdens. It truly is liberating working with these virtual assistants. All right. In fact, here's a good one. Go ahead, Scott. Okay, I thought.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, this is a great one from Jolene. Jolene says she once went to one of these internet sites and hired somebody to build an application for a web app, a phone app, and they decided to take the idea and do it for themselves. And let me tell you, her question is, how do we prevent them from doing that? Well, Jolene, that's exactly one of the problems with trying to find these folks on your own. And I'm not saying that you can't find folks on your own. There are a lot of people that do, and they have great success with it. But this is a big part of the reason why people come to us, because we have gone through the vetting process. We have a contract not only with you but with them that has that non-compete, non-disclosure in it, and it really prevents them from doing those kinds of things. Plus, we have a track record with most of the people. The chances are when we place you with somebody, they've already worked for one of our clients before. We know who this person is. We know whether or not they're good. We know whether or not they're trustworthy. And let me tell you, there's no amount of money that you can place on that. The value of that is tremendous. And so I feel sorry for you. I mean, it's just a terrible thing that you went through, and I'm so sorry to hear that you had to go through that. But I can tell you that I've never had a client go through that, and I hope and assume that we probably never will. So that's a great one. I appreciate you throwing that out there. As far as training goes, Gregory asked about training. And Gregory, training, for some things, we do the training for certain things like the QuickBooks and those kinds of things. There are some processes in your business that you're going to want to train on. And when it comes down to the actual specifics of how you like things done, that's something that you need to train them on. And again, I cannot say enough about training. If all you did was a daily huddle every morning and you spent 10, 15 minutes on the phone with them or on Skype with them, just teaching them a new process in your business, 6 months into it, they're going to be indispensable to your business. They're going to be so valuable to you because they're going to know as much or more than you do about the day-to-day operation of the business. And all you're going to be doing is lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion, or whatever it is that you really want to do in your business. So, and yes, Jolene, we have great.
Yeah, we've I mentioned this.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, Michael, just kind of tag on to that. What I mentioned at the top of the call is that we'll have those Skype conferences, but then I'll do a recording of that on my Mac. I can do that with a number of different pieces of software. But we'll record it that way. They can hear their own conversation. I can hear it. They can see where the mouse is moving over a site, over a market. No matter what it is, we're sharing all that information so that the entire message is recorded and captured, so that they can go back to that over and over and over again. So it's a training piece that is also then recorded and then sent over to my VAs so that they can refer back to that.
Yeah, that's huge. And by the way, you mentioned, Scott, earlier, you and I have talked about some of the things that you used virtual assistants for, and I have a question from Jolene that she says, I need help doing internet tech help for my clients. And Jolene, yes, we do have that. Scott, you've used our web developers in the past.
Yep.
And so, it's folks, it's not limited to real estate needs. I guess that's really the message I hope that you get from this is whether it's for real estate, whether it's for tech, whether it's bookkeeping, telemarketing, maybe you need an executive assistant to help you. All of those things can be done virtually, and we can help you get to the right person for that. Again, all you've got to do is just go to scottmyers.com/VA. Again, that's scottmyers.com/VA. Fill out the form on that page, and that'll automatically give you the opportunity to take advantage of that free 1-week test drive. Now, there was a question about, is there a time limit for initiating this 1-week test drive? And here's how I'll put it. If you get signed up on that website, scottmyers.com/VA, if you'll just go there and get signed up there right away, it doesn't matter to me if you're ready today or 6 months from now. We're going to honor that 1-week test drive because you're one of Scott's clients. The key is you do need to opt in and at least go there and fill out the form right away so that I at least have contact with you and we know who each other is. And then, yes, if it's today, great. If it's 6 months from now, we'll still honor it as long as you get the form filled out, today or tomorrow, preferably today. Now, Scott, I did want to mention we've got a bunch more questions I'd love to get to. We are technically out of time. Is it all right with you if those people that need to go, and we answer questions for those that want to stay, or how would you like to go ahead?
That's fine. Yep, that's fair. Why don't we call it, how about maybe 10 more minutes or so worth of questions, and we'll just see how many we get through after that.
Sounds great. All right, then let's keep moving through these. And again, for those of you that need to go, we totally respectful of your time. We understand. Just jump on that scottmyers.com/VA website. Even if you just have questions and you want some one-on-one answers to some of your questions, you can go there, and we'll take the time to answer your questions and make sure that you are feeling like you've gotten them all answered. Okay, so customer service reps. Yes, we do handle customer service reps. When it comes to telemarketing type positions, customer service rep type positions, we'll get you people that have experience already in that industry and that already know how to do those types of things. Again, you're still going to want to train them on how you would like those things handled, and how you put your personal touch to it. All right. Let's see. How do you find out your needs? I'm not sure what to delegate. This is a great question. I'm not sure what to delegate myself, so going through this process of finding out what your needs are is key. Can you elaborate? Raul, this is a great question. One of the things I recommend that everybody should do, and Scott alluded to this earlier in the webinar today, one of the things you need to do is write down everything you do every day. For a week. Just take a week and just for that 1 week, write down every hour, just have a tablet by your desk there and just write down on the hour, each hour, write down what you did the last hour. At the end of the week, you're going to have a nice long list. Then you take that list and you grab a highlighter and you highlight the things that you would love to have somebody take off that list for you. And all of a sudden now you've created the job description for your VA. It is that simple. And I'll tell you, if you'll go through that process, you'll also find out that you're doing a lot of things that you don't need to be doing. And you'll eliminate a lot of things from your business, and you'll get more efficient with your time. And so what you do first is you eliminate. Here's the process. Eliminate, automate, delegate. And when you do those three things with your business in that order, first eliminate things that you don't need to be doing, then automate everything that can possibly be automated, and then delegate the rest. And man, when you can take your business to that level, you will be amazed at the results. Would you agree, Scott?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is again one of the things. I think that's straight out of Tim Ferriss's book, if I'm not mistaken. That's the title of some of his chapters is how to do that. And I did a 30-day audit only because there's some things that you do once a month, like some of the bookkeeping and what have you. And so, yes, for a week you'll have the job description defined. I did it for a month. And then also what you want to do is, I think you probably put it better than the process that I followed, Michael, which is I looked at it kind of from a dollars and cents. Can I pay somebody less than what I make doing those types of tasks? But I think at the end of the day what it boils down to is it your unique ability? And if it's not your unique ability, if you really can't or shouldn't hire somebody else to do it, if those are the things that you need to be doing in your business, which is basically lead gen, you need to be the head salesperson for your office and your business, and you need to be converting those folks over and doing the things that drive your business. And if you're not in your unique ability doing those things that drive your business that only you can do, then it needs to be offloaded to somebody else, period.
Yep, that's right. And now, by the way, I've got one gentleman, Pete, was asking, how do I contact your company other than just the 1 week trial? Really, that's the best way to contact us. Even if you're not ready to take care of that 1 week or take that 1 week trial, Pete, just go ahead and contact us via that form, and then someone from my office will call you. The main thing here is I want to know you're from Scott, because Scott's clients get a stepped up priority with my office. If I know you came from Scott, we're going to get back to you. We're going to be in touch with you. We're going to make sure you're a priority. Now, another question was, what is the cost of these VAs? Let me run through some typical examples of what you would pay by the hour for some of these VAs. For data entry and that type of thing, blogging, SEO, backlinking, those kinds of things, you're going to be in about the $7 an hour range. For higher level tasks, let's say you want a really good executive assistant or maybe a telemarketer that speaks really good English, you're going to be anywhere from $11 to $15 an hour, and 15 would be the very high end. If you're looking for someone that does web design and development, like a really, really high level development person that literally can do anything that can be done on the internet, your max, you're going to be at $25 an hour. If you're looking, which by the way, for that level of talent in the States, you're going to pay about $125 to $225 an hour. For a bookkeeper, you're going to be at about $9 an hour for bookkeeping. And that would be bookkeeping that you would compare to someone in the States at $25 to $55 an hour. And the quality is what you're going to find. The quality of these people is amazing. Now, somebody said, well, Michael, what about these $2 an hour VAs you always hear about? Well, the fact of the matter is when you hire $2 an hour VAs, you get $2 an hour work. And it's not good. Ultimately, we've been down that road. We've tried going cheap, and what we found is it's worth paying what people are worth. The key is I want to make sure that I'm getting the very, very best people. They're going to do the best job that I can trust and that I don't have to worry about my business. I want to know that they're taking care of as good a care of my business as I would. Now I've got somebody saying scottmyers.com, scottmyers/VA is not working. Yeah, you forgot the .com on that one, Harry. Go to www.scottmyers.com/VA. Again, it's scottmyers.com/VA. Okay, good questions. Let's keep moving here. Let's see. Can you get a VA for growing your network marketing business? Absolutely. Sales, product demonstrations, etc. Yes. That would be like a telemarketer. If you wanted somebody that could actually contact people and, literally close them over the phone, then yes, that's we can get you folks that can do that as well. Let's see. Do you commit to a certain number of hours per week? Yes, you do. The minimum number of hours per week is 2.5 hours per week is the minimum that we do with our VAs. And you can do on up to a maximum of 40 hours a week with one particular VA. Now, if you have one of the VAs working for you and you and they both agree that it's okay to do a 50-hour week, I'm okay with that. I don't recommend it. I think that people need time to recharge, and I think you get better work out of your VA when they're only working a 40-hour week. But in some instances, some people have chosen to use them for 50-hour week. Okay, let's see. Would it make sense to have VAs paid per task as opposed to paid per hour? If so, how would that look? That's a great question. Ultimately, some programs you can do that. The vast majority of the time, though, you will get more for your dollar by paying by the hour than you will by paying by the task. When you pay by the task, somebody is taking on additional risk in making sure that you get that task. And so what I would recommend is look for someone that you can do by the hour if you have a business that you are keeping close track of. If you're let's give me an example with the lead generation. If you're new at lead generation and you really don't know how to do it and you're buying some single family properties, yeah, we've got a great lead generation program for that where you pay by the lead. But the fact of the matter is, when you break it down by the hour, you're actually paying a little bit more than you would if I was just hiring a telemarketer for you and you were paying them by the hour. You'd actually save money by paying them by the hour. So I hope that answers your question on that. Let's see. Let's say I'm looking for a self-storage property with a motivated seller within 50-mile radius of Chicago. Cap rate over 10%. Cap rate over 10. Do you have experience with this kind of deal where you may have a better idea of what my VA needs to know than I do? And let me tell you, we have the right person on the phone or on the call to answer that for you, and that's Scott. And that's what you want to lean on Scott for. That's what you've got Scott here for, because he is absolutely the world's expert, not just the nation's, but he is the leading expert on self-storage properties. So what you want to do is when you have questions on what should my VA be doing specific to self-storage, contact Scott. Have him tell you how to implement that. Have him, hopefully you're in his coaching program, and whatever you do, engage Scott in that process because he knows better than you and I exactly what should be done to maximize things in the self-storage world. You want to jump in on that, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple ways of going about that, whether you want to just have them do it all or I really think it starts with the mailer, as we've talked about before, because the mailer is only as good as the follow-up behind it, and we've been kind of pounding that point home. So have your VAs send the mailer out for you using a printing company, mailing agency, or having them do it themselves, and then they do the follow-up afterwards, and then you get the hot lead. So that is the preferred way. But, yeah, that's a little more involved conversation. We can certainly have that as well. So you can email me on that one.
Also, Harry, I'm seeing Harry is having trouble getting on scottmyers.com/VA. Harry, if you're having a hard time doing that, go ahead and just shoot Scott an email. And
yep.
And he'll forward that to me, and we'll get you connected that way.
Catch me at, I'll give that email address. It's Scott at selfstorageinvesting.com. Scott at selfstorageinvesting.com. We got a lot of people on this call, Michael, so I think we may have broken the link.
I think you may be right, and it's funny because I'm looking at the numbers of people that are still on the call, and we still have about 85% of the people that started on the call are still with us. We got a ton of people on here. Now I want to jump. Here's another great one. What about finding leads for existing self storage? And this is Jeffrey's question. Jeffrey, great question. And Scott and I were talking about this a little bit before the webinar. When you hire a virtual assistant, actually, Scott, would you want to explain how you would go about that? Because I liked your system for that, and it would totally work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it's an existing facility, there's multiple ways of doing this. We can go out to on-market facilities, ones that are already for sale, and those are the normal places, whether it be going out to LoopNet, Craigslist. I mean, I've got a list that we give. It's in the home study system, essentially, and you just give all those avenues to your virtual assistant and say, hey, within this zip code, within this county, within this state, within 50 miles of my house, here's my house. Go out and find all of them. But then beyond that, if you're looking for the self-storage facility owners themselves, you can buy a list through InfoUSA, and you've got, again, within the home study system, you've got my contact within InfoUSA to get the super secret discount, and that list goes directly to you and your virtual assistant. And then they go out and they mine each one of those, and they contact, again, either by phone or through the mailer with a follow-up via the phone, and then maybe even Google to kind of fill in the gaps to begin to build your database and contact those folks. And by the way, that is, I should say, one of the biggest, well, it is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, benefit of using the VAs is really just building your database and mining it and then refining it all the time. We're always constantly scrubbing and building and refining and adding to our database of owners in the trade markets in which we're operating in. So, without getting into a whole lot of details, that is the best way of going about it, is just integrating them into the process, teaching them and training them about how you want to go about it, and then giving them the tools to be able to find it and let them go do it.
And I like doing both. I've always been a land, air, sea kind of guy. You got to hit them from all angles. And people need to hear who you are and about you from different ways. So I like that you said not just to mail them and not just to call them, but do both. Send them the mailer, and don't just send it to them once. Mail to them frequently. Call them frequently. There's not that many self-storage facilities in your area. It's not like it's going to be 10,000 and it's going to be onerous or burdensome to be doing this on a regular basis.
No, 3 to 4 times a year we hit them, because time and circumstances changes the minds of all sellers, and you want to be there in front of them with a letter, with a mailer that you send out, and or a phone call when it is time for them to sell. And the lazy route of just sending the mailers out and doing nothing afterwards, well, that's going to get you the poor results. You're going to double your conversion rate and your response rate by giving a follow-up call. And by the way, it makes it easier for you and your virtual assistant to then have a warm call with them to say, hey, I sent you a mailer last week and just wondered if you got a chance to read it. Well, no, I didn't see it. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I don't know what happened, but basically, I represent an investment group, and we're looking for self-storage facilities in your area. I wondered if you knew of anybody that had any facilities for sale. No, I don't. Well, how about yourself? And whatever that is that you want to give them as a script, but that just makes it an easy call for them or you to make afterwards.
I've always had the rule in all of my businesses: I don't mail to anyone unless I follow up with a phone call.
Oh yeah, that's wasted money.
Yep, I agree. And you hit, and I'll tell you, I think the statistics probably even bigger than you mentioned. I think you more than double the results when you follow up with a phone call. In fact, I would go so far as to say you probably triple or quadruple the results by following up with a phone call. But I would also say that I think you get probably double the results of your phone calls if you're also mailing. And so I think the two, and now if you can take that to the next level, when you do get a hold of them, probably the most important thing you can get from them when you're on that call is their email address.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when you do all of that, when you're snail mail, email, and phone, man, I tell you, that is just amazing. And then if I don't, depending on any other marketing you might be doing in the area, if you have snipe signs out there, if some other way they're seeing your information in the paper or on the internet or whatever, it just all of that works better when the other stuff is working also.
Yep. Just more awareness, and it makes you real to them and realize that okay, these guys, they must be doing what they're saying. Look at, they're everywhere.
You know, it's funny because, you talk about this in terms of, think about what would happen if you went to Nordstrom's to buy a pair of shoes. When you first walk into Nordstrom's, somebody always comes up to you and says, hey, can I help you? And what's your instant response? Most people are going to say, nope, that's okay, I'm just looking.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, now think about this. 5, 10 minutes later, you find a pair of shoes that you like. Do you go find the person that first initially contacted you? No. You grab the first person,
Yeah.
grab the first salesperson you see. And so initial contact is not enough. You got to be there when they're ready. And you were talking about that a second ago, Scott, where you've got to be ready when their mind frame changes, when their situation changes, when their circumstances change. And if you are, and you're the top of consciousness, if you're the first one that comes to their mind, guess what? You're the one they're going to call. You're the one that's going to end up getting to do the deal.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, all right, go ahead. I think at this point we've gone about 20 minutes over.
I can't stress this enough. For those of you that have, yep. The last piece that I want to stress is that I know what happens with these folks, Michael, is that everybody's fired up. They listen to me on a webinar. I've spoken to them some live at some event. They get their home study system, or they've been through the academy, and I know the further people get away from that, the less likely it is that they take that next step to begin doing what they need to be doing, which is filling their funnel and getting these leads. Life gets in the way, business gets in the way, and I get it. I understand that. So what I'm urging you folks is, if that has happened to you, and you're realizing if this has kind of re-energized you to get into the business, if you set a goal, 2013 is going to be your year, you're either going to set time aside to do it, you already have set time aside to do it, or you're trying to figure out how to set time aside. That is why we specifically held this call with Michael until this month, until January, because we knew by design that would happen that way. And so we want to give you the tool to reach your goals in 2013, and it starts right now because everybody's still scrambling to find the time to be able to commit to getting their next self-storage facility this year. And this is where it begins, is freeing up your time to be able to do that. So we've given you at least a dozen to 15 different ways to utilize virtual assistants to free up your time and or to handle these tasks for you and to grow your business. So now it's up to you to basically log on and speak with Michael, get in touch with him, get your free week to get started. You'd be amazed at what these folks can do within 1 week to get your first campaign started, to start filling your funnel and or offloading anything that you want to offload so that you can focus on doing that yourself, whatever that is. But I can't stress enough, take advantage of Michael's offer. And why is he doing this? Why is he doing it for free? And why are we doing all this? What's the catch? Well, there isn't one. And Michael will tell you as well, you know what? He does a fantastic job. He's done a fantastic job for me and for our other students as well. And he knows that if he gives you this time to begin to use these virtual assistants, well, guess what? When it's time to run your next marketing campaign, or when you're finally ready to offload some more duties, you're going to go back to him because, well, they're the best at what they do. And so he's been very gracious in giving a week away for free, but he's a businessman as well, and he knows, and he's very confident in what he does in his company, and I am as well, that you'll continue to go back to him. And it worked for me, so you heard it here from yours truly. You need to get in touch with Michael and his company because they're doing it right.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for that and that glowing endorsement. I really do appreciate it. Scott, there's one last question that I think would be a great question for you to touch on before we wrap up.
Right.
And this is from Jeffrey, and he wants to know, how can I use my virtual assistant to help me get more tenants for my self-storage?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a shotgun approach. I mean, there's multiple ways of marketing, and I think it starts with the site, first of all. I mean, let's face it, you've got to dominate your local market. We've talked about what a market is for a self-storage facility. There's aggregators out there that you can subscribe to and pay a lot of money to, but at the end of the day, when somebody is Googling self-storage, Crawfordsville, self-storage, Springfield, whatever it is, the market that your facility is in, you want to be number one. And Michael's folks are masters. He's got the masters at SEO and dominating your local market, because your market is within 5 miles of where this person is located. So when they're Googling self-storage and looking at facilities in their area, they're looking on a map and they're looking at the ones that are closest to them. And so for a number of ways of getting those eyeballs onto your site, that is your goal. You want to get them to your site and then once they get to your site needs to convert. And we could talk for about an hour about that, couldn't we, Michael? About how to get our sites to convert.
Not all websites are equal, that's for sure.
That is for certain. So those are the things that you need to focus on as well. But it's really dominating on a local basis. And mobile apps are huge as well. Michael's got folks that are working on that, and that is. When people are out and about and they're shopping for storage or looking around, if you have a site that is mobile app ready and also dominating from that standpoint when people are searching, there's we could talk for an awful long time about that. So his folks are able to make sure that all eyeballs, when somebody is looking for storage, Yellow Pages are dead, folks. First of all, they're going to stop printing those things before long. So when people are looking for a self-storage facility, it's via a mobile app and it's via the web and Google searches. And if you don't possess that knowledge, which I highly doubt that anybody on this call does, you need to contact Michael's folks so that they can develop a marketing plan to get all eyeballs on your site to make sure that you're dominating your local market and beating out the big guys. It is not too hard to beat out the big guys, and you know who I'm talking about by some of the things that Michael's folks do.
And I want to touch on that mobile app thing too. One of the things people underestimate is you don't necessarily have to go create a full-on mobile app to really crush it. What you must do, though, is you got to make sure that your website is optimized for mobile viewing. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's actually a lot less expensive, and it's really important to do that because, especially for self-storage, think about it. Self-storage is the kind of thing, you're right, they're looking local. They're not looking for a self-storage facility 20 miles away. They want it to be close. And when they get to your website, if they're looking at your website, imagine a website on your phone. They don't want to have to, get close and really scroll in and try and figure out where they're supposed to go on your site. It needs to be big and bold and easy for them to read, and it needs to be very, very functional. It needs to tell them exactly what they want to know right when they get there, and they shouldn't have to search for it.
Yep.
So.
Now, how far did we go over by now?
I think we're 26 minutes over. But I'm glad we got to those questions, though, and I apologize for taking a little extra time today, but I did want to make sure that we got to everybody's questions. And so with that, Scott, I'll turn the time back over to you and just thank you and everybody for being here with us tonight and for sharing some time with me today.
All right, I appreciate it, Michael. And just to recap once again, we've literally scratched the surface. We've talked about how it can help your business, how it can help your personal life, and certainly your self-storage investing career. And that is by taking back control of your business and your time by using virtual assistants. So I want to thank you, Michael, for taking time out to do so. And it's just fun. It gets me excited again. It makes me realize, first thing tomorrow morning when I begin to prioritize my day, I have to on a regular basis, be asking myself, am I doing the most, the thing that is the most important, the top priority of my business right now, or am I wasting time, or should I be having somebody else do this, like my virtual assistants? And so I'm re-energized to go back through and do a little time audit again to make sure that I'm doing absolutely the most important things first. And so, folks, I urge you to be able to do that, to start doing that tomorrow as well. And then get in touch with Michael and start building that list of things that you want to begin offloading, or some of those projects you haven't got to, or just the lead generation. And go out and do it. Now is the time. Let's not procrastinate. You've got your goals for 2013, so let's get after them. So with that, once again, for everybody that hung in there and all the people that were on the call, I'm proud of you guys for taking time out away from the TV and any of the other distractions or the things that you could be doing right now to further your business and grow your business, because I just love seeing the success that we've seen last year from all of you, and look forward to a fantastic year this year as well. And I just want to add one more tool to your toolbox that's going to help you get there, and that's by using virtual assistant staffing in Michael Hellickson's organization. So go to scottmyers.com/VA, take Michael up on his offer, no strings attached, and get his company and his folks working for you. And you truly will be. Take it from me. I use them. You will be amazed at how your business is going to grow as a result of it. So with that, Michael, thanks once again for taking time out away from your family to be on the call tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. What a great time, and I appreciate all the fantastic questions. By the way, I think that's who really deserves thanks tonight, is you guys, for all your great questions and for hanging in there and really participating in the call tonight. That's really important, and I really hope you got a lot of value out of today. And do reach out to us. I'm looking forward to talking with each one of you one-on-one and to helping you reach your goals and get where you're trying to go.
Great. Thanks, Michael, and I couldn't agree more. Once again, proud of you guys. We got a smart bunch here and a great bunch to be associated with. That's why I love being on these calls and hanging out with you guys, and then ultimately seeing the testimonials when you guys succeed in your business. So keep them coming. All right, so with that, we'll wrap up. And once again, great spending time with you folks. If you do have any other questions for Michael, obviously fill out the sheet. And for myself, Scott at selfstorageinvesting.com. Stay tuned for the replay. We'll send you an email out if anybody had to hop up. Well, if you hopped off early, you wouldn't hear this, but we'll have a replay of this if you didn't catch it all. And look forward to spending more time with you on our next webinar. So go out and make it a great day, folks, and look forward to working with you all again very soon. Good day, everyone.